As a libertarian, I am watching content creators on both sides of the false left-right paradigm trying to hold on to what YouTube used to be before the run-up to the 2016 presidential election and the loss of Hillary Clinton to Donald Trump changed things. It was at that point the left in media, politics, and Silicon Valley realized that they no longer controlled the flow of information because of the rise of social media and sites like YouTube. As I said in a previous video recently, they are trying to regain as much of the control they once had as possible. What has been going on in Silicon Valley with the censorship is an attempt to regain control of it on the internet. What people do not seem to realize is that the people who run all of the Silicon Valley companies have all made their nuts off of them. They are filthy rich. They do not care if they burn these companies to the ground at this point. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google, Instagram, and the rest. These people could decide to put all of them into nosedives financially tomorrow, pointing them straight at the ground wanting to crash and burn them, and they would all walk away unscathed. That being said, there is no government intervention whatsoever that is going to change what they are doing. Not even a change in market force is going to get them to walk things back. They literally have nothing to lose at this point and could care less what happens to their companies. I look at conservatives like Dave Cullen bitching, pissing, moaning, whining, and complaining about the censorship of YouTube in Silicon Valley at large. I see them begging for the government to come in and solve the problem, which goes against the very concept of what it means to be a conservative. They want more government oversight and control placed over the internet as if it is a utility when that has never ended well for any service that has been treated as one. Ma Bell and AT&T are the poster child for this. Cable television providers are another one that exemplifies this as well. I was born into and grew up during the tail end of the days of Ma Bell's and AT&T's control of the telecommunications industry here in the US. The same is true with cable as well. I witnessed firsthand the result of what government oversight and control of both had led to. I don't need to live through it again as an adult with the internet too. There are already laws on the books that are not being enforced that could be used to try to bring Silicon Valley back into line, but they are not being used and will not be used to do it. If they were going to be used, we would have seen it attempted already. It would have most likely failed too. Because as I've already said, the people running these companies do not care if they burn them to the ground at this point. Even if it was attempted, there is no way Democrats in Congress and their deep state bureaucrat sympathizers in the agencies responsible for enforcing Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act would allow it to happen. Even if Trump were to sign an executive order tomorrow instructing them to start investigations and revoke 230 protections if not in compliance with it, which is something he's talked about doing, the pencil pushers would do everything they possibly could to drag their feet on and delay any investigation or actions being taken against Silicon Valley. That is a given. To believe otherwise, you are either naive and or stupid. I truly mean that too. It used to be conservatives had enough common sense, even if they are stupid people, to know that having more government, a bigger government, is always a bad thing. Yet, now there are people who call themselves conservatives who are begging for the government to expand its reach and control over the internet, which I would like to blame it for their dumbing down to where that seems like a good idea. Dave Cullen, an Irishman, is one of these conservatives that is calling for the US federal government and Trump to expand its reach over the internet in Silicon Valley. He keeps whining about them, doing nothing from the comfort of his own home in Ireland while sitting on his ass doing nothing about it himself. Why isn't he lobbying members of the Irish government to put pressure on these companies to get them to be actual platforms? Ireland is a tax haven for tech companies. They use his country to limit their tax liabilities here in the United States. To them, it is a tax shelter to evade U.S. corporate income taxes. The fact that it is, one would think gives the Irish government some leverage to put pressure on them to be platforms respectful of free speech. Yet, Dave, the one calling for the U.S. government to do something, hasn't begged his own to do a damn thing. He's clearly happy just sitting there like a child crying for more parental supervision, it seems. I don't want people to think I'm picking on Dave here, because I am not. There are more than a few content creators out there who call themselves conservatives that have been doing the same exact thing. Paul Joseph Watson is one of them. It does not matter who they are though. If they call themselves a conservative and have done this, I have lost a lot, if not all of my respect for them as content creators with their inability to practice what they preach. I cannot respect someone fully, if at all, regardless of the capacity it is in, if they are a hypocrite. I am not made that way. Some of you might be, but I am not. I actually have more respect for Jorg Sprav, or as I like to call him, Jorg Spurg, with his little YouTubers union and their ridiculous demands. I hate to say that too, but he at least is practicing what he preaches. It is clear he's on the left, and they are the ones who tend to demand for the overreach of government and for the things they believe they are entitled to, which is exactly what he, the YouTubers union, and IG Metal are doing. They are demanding that YouTube guarantee payment for videos uploaded by content creators, They are also demanding that YouTube provide content creators with vacation and even sick time, plus a whole lot more along these lines. Their argument being, content creators are employees of YouTube and did not create their own success. I kid you not on this, and it is one reason why I hate to say I have more respect for him than I do conservatives like Dave Cullen and Paul Joseph Watson. I mean, it is hard to respect someone who's made themselves a success on YouTube when they claim it was YouTube that made it happen for them and every other successful content creator out there after all. Regardless, the content creators who are all calling for government intervention have all admitted defeat by doing so. None of them want to let the market and disruptive forces, such as new technologies, correct the situation. None of them are willing to invest the time, effort, and energy into the diversification necessary in this day and age to be a content creator. They just want to be able to sit at home and make their videos. They do not want to do what is necessary for their continued growth as content creators or brands. During the golden age of YouTube, when content creators were making money hand over fist with ad revenue, they didn't have to do anything to sustain their growth. Then the ad apocalypse came along with changes to the algorithms, and that all changed for them. Because they don't know how or want to adapt, they are trying to find some way to force YouTube into doing what they want it to do. The problem is, life does not work like that, and it shouldn't. Like them, I have been rejected by YouTube, probably far worse than they have. Unlike them though, I got the picture right off the bat with it doing it to me. They still haven't at this point. It is actually kind of pathetic and a little bit on the creepy ex-stalker side of things as well. If YouTube was a woman, they're trying to force it to have a relationship with them and do what they wanted to do would be considered the behavior of a stalker ex-boyfriend. Well-adjusted people do not do what they're doing. Yet they are, and there are plenty of others who agree with them and support what they are doing. Which I guess just goes to show how many maladjusted people there are out there besides the content creators who make up the YouTubers Union. I was raised that if someone doesn't want anything to do with you, you do not need them in your life. Trying to force them to be in it, or changing who you are in an attempt to have them in it, it never ends well for you. With YouTube, the same applies. What we are witnessing happening to content creators is proof of that. Even with that being the case, there are creators who are trying to force YouTube into having a relationship with them and are trying to change themselves to try to make it happy. Neither is healthy behavior. When you do these things, all you are doing is compromising yourself, who you are as a person, and your integrity. Not to mention you have crossed the line into psycho ex-stalker territory. Someone needs to tell these content creators there are other fish in the sea, because they are fixated on and only seem to have eyes for one video content hosting site. None of them want to move on and forward in their lives. They do not want to put the effort in to find a replacement for the one that is abusing them and build an audience there. It is as if they all have battered wife syndrome and hope that things are going to change when Susan Wojcicki stops drinking the far-left Kool-Aid, which she will never do. Currently, there are viable alternatives to the so-called platforms that Silicon Valley offers. Their user bases are growing with each day despite the anti-competitive actions taken to prevent that from happening. The number of content creators setting up shop on these alternatives is also growing at a steady pace. At the rate things are going with Silicon Valley's censorship, it is just a matter of time before a tipping point is reached and all tech platforms begin to outpace their Silicon Valley counterparts in the growth of their user bases proportionately. Silicon Valley created the environment that made this possible too. YouTube, like the rest of Silicon Valley, with it slowly killing itself in an attempt to put the left and mainstream media back in control over the flow of information, made it possible for viable alternatives to appear. If they weren't doing what they are doing, there would be no need for them, but they are, and there is. It's only going to continue too. Things are never going to go back the way they were. Relying on YouTube for ad revenue as a source of income is a thing of the past. So is relying on it to increase one's subscriber base and reach. The best a content creator can hope for is to ride it until the wheels fall off and hope they are able to establish a presence on one of those viable alternatives out there, such as BitChute for example, and weather out the coming storm on it. Right now it is survival of the fittest and only the strong are going to survive. Those who do not adapt to the environment of YouTube changing are going to end up casualties of its evolution. The same is true across all of Silicon Valley's platforms. No amount of trying to fight it is going to prevent it from happening. All it will do is lead to a waste of time, effort, and energy that could have been better spent on trying to ensure one's survival. Those who go that route will not be around online to talk about it. At least not around in any capacity that matters anymore, that is. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.